And first thing we always do is pledge allegiance to the flag, so please join me in that. I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance to the
to the
flag
United
of
States of
America,
to the
to the
republic
republic
for
for which it stands,
one nation under God,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Roll call, commissioners.
Chief Brown,
Here.
Chief Amon,
Here.
Chief Carabas,
Here.
Chief Gregory,
Here.
Ms. Baker,
Here.
Mr. Conley.
Here. Everybody get a copy of today's agenda?
Yes.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the agenda.
It is a motion and it's been seconded to approve today's agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Let's see. Since we're back to live now, I don't see any citizens or anybody who wants to address the commission, so we'll move on. And I guess everybody got a copy of today's agenda, right? I hear yes? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, motion been made to approve today's agenda and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you so much. Any commission members would like to bring up something that's not listed on today's agenda? I don't hear any, so thank you for that. We'll now move on to Chief Brown.
Nothing to report, sir.
I love Chief Brown. He takes care of his committee so well, he never has a report. Okay, Matt, how about the budget? We hear anything from the council? Steve?
News is good news.
Chief, we've got county council is doing the budget reviews on November the 20th is the police department's review, and if we are invited to do a presentation, we'll be there at that time.
Okay, so we're waiting for that, and
Right. waiting
it's
for county council.
it's coming. It's coming. All right, would anybody want to bring up anything about the budget? To have a copy in today's packet. Any commissioners see anything on there they'd like to ask Steve about or Matt about? Okay, then we'll move on to the director's report.
Thank you, Chief. Y'all don't mind, I'm gonna stay right here sitting down, all right?
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of people in here to stand in front of. Appreciate everybody being here today. We've got- Just so I told everybody about who's online. Anybody who's on the WebEx call that isn't actively speaking, if you guys wouldn't mind muting, there's a little bit of background noise in here. It's our first attempt at a hybrid meeting here, so far so good. My financial report, like the Chief just mentioned, the 2,800 and 5,800 bond and operation funds are in your packet. Nothing exciting to point out there. Our spending is typical at this time of year. The funding, our funding sales tax sheet is next after those sheets in your packet. You'll see the September returns, which we get in November, are up 18% over last year. Of course, last year was a major COVID year, so that doesn't really say a lot. But I think if you look at the number, it's actually higher than we've had in the last 6 years at $1,143,329. So that's certainly moving in the right direction and good news. The sheet behind that is our 2021 tax, wireline tax and 3% prepaid wireless tax. You kind of, if you look at the 1% line, the October returns came in about almost 58,000. So we're still on pace to bring in less than we did last year. Again, due to the decline and switch of a lot of people going to mobile phones instead of home phones. That's where that 1% is generated, is the home landline phones. The 3%, we got our final quarterly payment for this year. 64,510 for a total for the year of 265,382, which is about 35,000, roughly 35,000 more than last year. So again, obviously sales are up, numbers are up a little bit, so that's good news. That's really all I got under finance, unless you guys have any questions.
Mike, on the wireline tax, do we collect that on just standard copper lines, or do we collect?
No, it's also voice.
VoIP lines?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it's a residential permanent line.
What about commercial VoIP?
Great question. I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
If it's static VoIP, yes, like Charter Enterprise,
Mhm.
yes.
Okay.
As long as the telephone numbers are not, it's correct.
That's why I bring these guys along.
It's nomadic VoIP now. Which is on edge and all that.
Thank you.
Okay, project updates. Just kind of run through our divisions and let you know what's going on. Sirens, no major issues. We had a siren test last week on November 1st, 3 reported problems, our usual types. One of them lived in the city. So we naturally don't try to, we don't tell anybody that we're in charge of the city of evacuating the city or notifying them of tornadoes, but there are people that hear it in the city. So when they call, we do check their address and see if it's in a space that we could have a problem. So we checked that out. There was no trouble found. We had another one from a person inside their home. Same kind of thing. It's an outdoor warning siren. We stress that. Again, if they usually hear it in their home, we take a look at it. So one other one, we couldn't determine a problem. So Danny's guys checked out all 3 of those calls, and they are complete at this point. They continue to just do our normal PMs on our tower sites and siren system. And now that the weather is a little more cooperative, it's not so hot out there, they're getting a lot done. Go a little out of order than what I usually do. I'm gonna talk about GIS. So Nikki's, besides doing her day-to-day tasks in her GIS coordinator role, she's keeping an eye on the address. You know, we've made a push to get an address ordinance. The assessor's office is developing a guidebook, if you will, and they're the best ones to do that because they've handled it all these years. That progress is, they've done a lot. It's going to take a little longer than they thought. Originally, they said, hey, we might get it to you in November. That's probably going to be February where they're going, but they are progressing. And a lot of that's just staff, you know, they're staff with 2 people that really do that. So they have to do their normal everyday jobs, and they've asked them to put this book together for us. So we're kind of at their mercy to get it done. But it is moving forward, and she keeps an eye on that. Also on the GIS front, some meetings have been had countywide, and there's a commitment from our IT department within the county to hire 2 more GIS type people. It was decided that after the reconstruction of the department, where they broke down the department, those people, they need to hire 2 more people, and that's budgeted. I think they've got ads on the street now to try to get some people in there. So that'll help alleviate some of the problems, and it'll help us. Once Next Gen goes live, we'll probably be leaning on some of those people to help us out. Other than that, let's move on to the network. James and Bill have been extremely busy. So I've been talking about it for a while. We got with Nokia, and in an effort to get away from some of our charter circuits, we've been installing our own MPLS network. Basically what that means is we're taking places where we have 3 and 4 charter lines today and reducing them down to 1 via a Nokia router. So James and Bill, with the assistance of Nokia, successfully migrated all of our PSAPs, our radio and Next Gen, over to the new network last week. The next couple of weeks, they're going to do some ancillary tasks, clean up some things, and then close out that project. So by December, we should be canceling many of those charter circuits. And a rough guess of what that'll save us per month is about $18,000 a month as soon as we make those cuts. So great effort by those guys to get that taken care of. There were some bumps along the road and some late nights working in the maintenance windows, which are overnight typically from 10 a.m. to 6 a.m. that they had to come in and work with these vendors and get the stuff done while the network was the quietest. But they got it done, and like I said, hopefully we'll close that out in the next couple of weeks.
That leaves us having one charter line
And AT, yep, and AT&T, right. Where we had in some places, I think it was 3 to 4 going each place because we had each of our services on a different charter line.
won't get rid of the remaining charter ones.
A master replacement plan, right, which we're looking at point-to-point microwave and discussing some dark fiber options. So that's still going on in the background. We're still looking at that. Once we clear this hurdle, that'll definitely clear up some more of James's time to move forward with that. So with that, that gives us kind of the green light to get our Genesis deployed, which is the red button, radio finder. I think with this just cutting now, we'll probably wait till the first of the year to bring that out with the holidays coming and everything else and wanting to make sure this network's solid. We've got some programming to do to the actual console computers that are go out in the PSAP. So those have to be all put together and get and ready to go out there. But Genesis, the product is ready. So it's just a matter of we got to get the stuff out to the PSAPs and turn that up.
How's the testing going?
It's good. They've
Do you have any glitches yet?
well, honestly, our test was right here
Right.
with County PD. They tested it, but they don't do it every day. So what they have done, they've reported no problems. They today have some GPS through their cameras. They have purchased cameras, so those cameras are very accurate, and that's their primary today. If they want to find, or if they need information on where a unit is or a person is, they have it there as well. So not everybody in the county has that. That's a purchase the county police made. So that doesn't affect this. This will still be installed. Excuse me. It's to them, it'll be more of an auxiliary, an extra way of finding somebody. Or if they have a true man down situation, I think I don't know how the cameras work, but I imagine they have something similar on that. They're recording at all times. I don't know if that tells them where they are in real time, but ours will. So that it'll still be a tool they can use.
But that shouldn't affect everybody else that doesn't have cameras.
Right, correct. No, we'll get it out there for all the, I think we're at 15 PSAPs that we have now. We'll get it rolled out, like I said, probably after the first of the year. And it'll go pretty quick once the computers are ready. What's that?
Is that a pretty good date that this will go?
Yeah. I don't anticipate any other problems. It's just readying the computers, and then the PSAPs have to have the countertop space sitting there for us to put it at. And most of them did, because if you remember our ARL days, they had a computer out there then. So we basically pulled those out and put a big X on the desk. So don't use that space. We're coming back. So hopefully we'll touch base with all the PSAPs and get that rolling first of the year, if not sooner. This network issue also covers radio, but last Wednesday, those of you that carry radios probably know about this. November 3rd at about, I forget, I didn't write the times down, about 4:30 that afternoon, we had a data storm occur on the network. What that means is there was so much traffic that it exceeded the capabilities of the bandwidth of our network. And what happened was the radio system, essentially to close using it, it went down. Things started to fail. PSAPs lost consoles. It was very evident, very fast what was happening. The radio system did exactly what it was supposed to do. It wasn't a failure of the radio system. It was a failure of our network that connected it, specifically the microwave network. The bottom line is we had vendor, Comtech was doing some failover testing out at our backup. Meanwhile, James and his staff and Nokia were doing some configuration changes. And while that shouldn't have caused a problem, it did. and it caused what we call a data storm. Bottom line is the network was way over busy, so immediately everybody knew about it. The vendors knew about it instantly. Obviously, the dispatchers knew about it. Were giving us calls. Motorola knew about it. Had alarms going off. So the entirety of this thing lasted about 16 minutes from the time it started to the time everybody was back to normal. And not everybody failed. It just, the network gets clogged and things just start to fail and they're not predictable. It could be a console, it could be radio communications or garbled, things like that. So looking at you two, I know you got some phone calls on it when it happened. We've put some preventative measures in place. The work that was being done by Comtech should have been done overnight in our maintenance window when we're not so busy. And that wasn't communicated very well, but I can assure you it's been communicated now. So it was a self-made error. It wasn't anything to do, nothing failed per se. So we've taken steps to make sure it doesn't happen again. Well, that's why we try to do things overnight, is because of that very reason. In this particular case, it wasn't even that the network was that busy. It was the fact that we were changing some configurations of the PSAPs and those routers that we've been working with. And that traffic should have probably taken a back seat to some of the radio traffic. And then when Comtech did what they did, they were trying to fail over a piece of equipment and test it. It caused all that havoc to break out. So we're still working with Nokia as to why it really happened. But the bottom line is it was preventable, and we won't do those kinds of things again without all eyes, particularly James's eyes, the network guys, knowing that somebody's going to be doing something to the network. So it was a lesson learned. We filled out a full after action report to the chief. I don't know if it's made it to the chief yet, but it's on its way. So that's all I have on that part of the report on the network is, just want to assure everybody we're taking steps to make sure it never happens like that again.
We got a solid date yet on the 911 switch over next generation?
Let me, yeah, if you don't mind, I'm gonna get to that when we get to David. I'll have him give you a full report on it. I wish I'd printed that out. I did not include that in your packet. We have a moving target schedule put together, but it's kind of a technical schedule showing all the steps that are going on. And that's probably why I didn't include it. It changes weekly depending on what we get done. But Comtech's been working feverishly to get things going. Josh has been keeping a close eye on them and working with them. And so I'll have David report if that's okay when he comes up on his report. He's on the phone.
Oh, she's gonna make a report on it?
Yeah, David will.
How will we roll into training for the PSAP?
That's
When we get ready to roll this, we got to have
It's
all
all
the guys
right.
trained.
It's all on the schedule, and we'll schedule that with the PSAPs. But yeah, the idea would be we would train them right before they go live, so that they don't have the training too early and have it sit and they don't touch it, and then they lose all that training. So we'll work. Josh will work with the PSAP managers as well as Comtech, and they'll put a schedule together once we're at that point.
We recently surveyed each PSAP, so they know what's coming. They know the general idea. They just don't know the schedule. It's on us. We'll let you know.
And they'll know what to expect with the new system, all the various features that will bring to the table over and above what we got now.
The training will include that.
Okay, other than that, the radio system, the AES upgrades are progressing for law enforcement. Mark and Jeff kicked off some more programming about the 18th of October and been doing it for roughly 4 weeks. So we've got about 12 municipal police departments that have been upgraded. Most of the radios have been located and upgraded. Still looking at project completion on getting that done as about April, by the end of April of this coming year. It's a lot of radios to touch. Other than that, the other big item under radio system is that other attachment I gave you, which is a Post-Dispatch article about the admin building possibly being torn down in Clayton. Well, on top of that building is one of our radio sites. So I made the county aware of that. Dee is certainly aware of that on the call. I gave a number, just a rough budgetary number, you know, what we thought it might cost to replace it. There are so many things that go into an RF site that that's a hard thing to do. So I just kind of gave them a hardware number, maybe the cost of a tower, but I'm working close with Public Works and when they get to that decision making, I'll make sure to keep you all posted. And obviously I've talked to Motorola to have them ready to put some numbers together for us as well. Do you see that? Like I said, it's in that article there. You won't see anything about the radio system. That was kind of, you know, that wasn't something the public needed anything to know about. It's more about that building, but it looks like they're looking at 3 different choices. One is renovating that building, keeping it. And the other 2 choices, one is building a smaller building behind it, tearing this one down. And I think the third is just tearing this one down and leasing space somewhere else. So in 2 of those 3 scenarios, that building's probably not going to be around anymore. So I'll keep an eye on that, and we'll do what we got to do if we need to replace it. There has been no talk about how that gets paid for yet. We're too early in the, too early in the discussions, but obviously I put a number out there so the county is well aware that it's there.
Do we have a location yet if we have to go to a portable antenna until this resolution comes out about whether or not they're going to really tear down the building and that? Can we reach out to like City of Clayton and maybe come up with a permanent solution? Maybe they'll let us put our antenna in the park out there if they got it. Or is there any other county facility out there?
Yeah, we're starting to look at all that, but I mean, it's too early really to have any, until we get some direction from the county if they're going to do this. I've just kind of got everything on standby. Yeah, but obviously site acquisition will be one of the biggest problems. We'll have to find a place to put it. And
You do that well ahead of time because.
Yeah, we've identified a couple spots that might work, but we really need to do coverage studies, which cost money. So there's things we need to do and look at before we can really pinpoint a spot. And maybe may end up needing 2 spots, to get the coverage that we have today. We just don't know yet. It's way too early in the game. They've got a consultant, the county does, looking at that building, that situation. So I've got an ear to it, and I've asked Public Works to keep me in that discussion so that we know what the plan is. I think the earliest, if they ended up tearing it down, the earliest that would probably be around 2026. So we got at least 4 years probably before it's.
Like just for
But obviously we want to get.
for your information, it might be worthwhile speaking with the director at ECDC because they're looking at possibly moving to the city of Clayton's 4th floor because that is a secure facility. So I would imagine they would have to be moving quite a bit of their infrastructure there. Might be something that we could piggyback on.
Sure. You might, as you look at our towers, you see the big concrete building underneath them. We have those basically full. So it's a site takes up quite a bit of room, but yeah, we'll look at everything we can. There's other rooftops in Clayton that might be available. We'd have to probably lease them or work out deals, but until we know for sure, I've just got Motorola kind of putting numbers together, putting ideas together. Site acquisition, like I said, will probably be its own animal.
Well, that's in their strategic plan for about the same time frame to move there.
Okay. Could be, I don't know. Obviously, there's it's structural integrity of the building, that kind of thing, especially do they have a spot for our equipment? If you remember early, when we were putting the system together, we looked at the jail building. However, security, just access to that building wasn't the greatest. And then we have to have line of sight microwave to Mercy Hospital to the west and Afton Fire to the south. And there's been more buildings put up since then, so I couldn't tell you today.
Real issue when that was all developed, that particular site really came hard.
Yeah, it was a tough site to begin with.
That's gonna be an
Do we have problems with the school?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
I think that.
Yeah,
Cleared up though, as far as I
Over in
know.
U City or Clayton, yeah.
Yeah.
Can't think of the name of the school, but you're right. You're right. And the minute we change this and put it somewhere else, that sounds great, but you're gonna lose coverage in places you had it before. Some of the buildings, somewhat predictable through some coverage studies that we'll have Motorola probably end up do, but yeah, it's hit or miss how that's going to work until we really, really dig into it and look at it. And without having a go or a better feel for where this project's going, I'm suggesting that I just leave everybody kind of on hold, knowing it could happen. And as soon as I know, it's a good chance we'll move forward.
I think what helped too, Matt, was that when we got a tower put up at Washington University, where there's presidential debates, and in fact, the university paid for it, that helped the coverage area for that entire area there. And that's what cleared up the school.
Yeah, they've actually got a site
Yeah.
today, right? Unfortunately, it doesn't have the kind of height and coverage and channel capacity that we'd need to replace this site. So we'll keep an eye on it. Like I said, it's top of my priority list. I try to keep in touch with Stephanie Leon Streeter, who's the acting director of Public Works, Joe Hunt, who's also in Public Works. I'll just keep in touch with them as soon as we have a better idea.
At least we got a few years for.
Yeah, that's not a lot. It sounds good, but we know it's not a lot of time.
Yeah.
So the only other thing I got, I'm gonna let David talk about next gen here in a minute, but for our next meeting, for our December meeting, I'm gonna present to you all. We're gonna figure out how much surplus next gen 911 equipment we have right now. And I say surplus, we've had some consolidation of services through, I think we started out with 20 PSAPs when I started in here, and I think we're at 15 now. So we've got some extra equipment. That equipment today is sitting on pallets on shelves, and we've definitely had some equipment requests going back to 2-3 years ago. But I'll put a little matrix together of what we've got versus what the asks are from the current PSAPs. And I think we're going to find that those numbers mend together pretty well, and we might be able to, with your guys, we tabled a discussion about this years ago. I'd have to look it up when it was. We didn't want to just provide them without the PSAP showing the need. And we were going to wait on some statistical data that we were going to get from a piece of software that's in our next gen package. Well, we'll talk about it next month, but that, maybe we've got a better route to go. I'd like to see that equipment out working so we can update it, so we can keep it maintained. And it doesn't make any sense for it to be sitting on a shelf somewhere. So we'll put those numbers together and put them in front of you in December and talk about it more then. Other than that, Chief, that's all I got under my report.
We got any consultants on the air? Make any reports?
David is here, if you can hear me.
Yeah, we hear you, Dave.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. I'll just give you an update on the next gen project that you referenced earlier. Currently, we have all our connections in, and we're doing some testing, and then we're doing some more testing. And we're going to keep testing probably until the end of this year. Some of that is once we get into the first week of December, some of our resources at agencies outside of us aren't available. So we are going to fine tune all of our testing and connectivity between now and the end of the year. We have acceptance testing scheduled in January. And that's when we will verify that all of the equipment and transferring is working properly. That is the final step before we start rolling out the changes to the individual PSAPs and doing the training of the PSAPs. So we will complete that schedule once the testing is complete. But we're looking at the rollout and the training in the early of next year, first quarter. It might go into a little of second quarter, but right now the current schedule hasn't it done early in 2022. Some of the hurdles that we came across last time have been resolved. So we have gotten those. So we've gotten further with this implementation than we did when we had our hiccups a few years ago. Any questions on the next gen and how we're proceeding on that?
David, this is Chief Amon. I have a question.
Yes.
When we do go live with this, in the areas where we have PSAPs that overlap, where we often get mobile callers, will get the wrong PSAP, will they be able to share that next gen information from PSAP to PSAP when they have
Yes.
to transfer?
Yes, that's a very good point. Once we get all the PSAPs migrated, they will be able to transfer the voice and the data, the location and auxiliary data between them as if they were sitting next to each other. And the next step after the rollout in the first quarter will probably be the second quarter. We are going to start tightening the boundaries so that the calls are routed based on the device where you're standing and not on the cell tower. So that will be done behind the scenes after the migration, but we wanted to get the migration done before we start fine tuning those boundaries.
What about the one PSAP we have that's not a 911 answering center, which is Central County? Will you be able to transfer the location data to them?
Yes, for everything within St. Louis County, they will be just like the primary PSAPs, they will be getting the same equipment, so they will get that information as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. With that, I will also want to give you an update on the grants. The grants we got from the state now, state of Missouri, which are actually they are managing the federal grant. The grant period is through the end of this calendar year. Just an update from last month. We have two projects. One is related to the James's project that you heard earlier. So that, as you can see, is migrating very well. And we will soon be moving into the painful administrative task of asking for all of our reimbursements for that project. In parallel, we're doing the text to 911 project, and that is on schedule to be installed by the end of this calendar year. After it's installed, we will be doing testing next year, early first quarter, and we'll be doing that in parallel to the NG 911. So I think the end users will see them both at the same time, but they're actually two different projects. But we desire to have the text to 911 completed in early 2022 as well. And that's the end of my report.
Anybody got any questions? Thank you for the report.
Thank you, sir.
That's all I've got, Chief.
Business, we have none.
Nope.
According to the agenda. And now we'll move on to new business. There's several requests here and some policy changes that we need to vote on.
Thanks, Chief. So I've got another request for legislation that I'd like to put before the county council, so I'll need you guys to approve me moving forward on this. In your packet, there's quite a pile of stuff in the back of that packet. The state of Missouri 911 Service Board has committed to and already put out some loan and grant opportunities for different things within 911. One of those things that they're willing to help PSAPs with is consolidation. And there's a whole list of things of other opportunities. I want to ask the council to basically to approve the county executive to have the ability to sign off on these applications. What happens is the state 911 Service Board will not reimburse the agency itself directly. That has to go through the county. So basically, we're asking them to act like the treasurer for grants and loans that are applied for by PSAPs. Currently, there's, I think I've got it in your packet, Crestwood and Sunset Hills. I think Crestwood now contracts with Sunset Hills for their 911 dispatch. With that consolidation, they had some costs generated. I couldn't tell you exactly what, it may be in their application, but they're asking, they want to ask the Missouri State 911 Board for some reimbursement, grant money for that. So they fill out the application and then the county executive has to sign off on it. So I'm not sure exactly what that process will look like, if maybe these applications need to come through the ECC so that we're aware And then we hand it to the county executive saying, hey, fine with us, no conflicts here. And so we'll work that process out, but I guess, and I've kind of got some of the wording on this page you got in your packet. I've already talked to legal about this. So the actual request that I need to send up to county exec's office is in your packet. So I'm just looking for you all to approve me sending that. And then, like I said, if all goes well, that will affect the Sunset Hills Crestwood consolidation because we can, the county exec can sign off on that with the state. And if the state decides their application is worth it and gives them the money just funnels through the county and the county has to disperse it back to them.
I think those would do that as soon as possible, and then, you know, when you draft your policy, and applications, you know, first get submitted to us, so you guys are gonna know about it.
Right. They did in this case for sure.
Kind of consolidation, so that way. it's sort of conduit to the county.
I might make a suggestion too that you write up some kind of report or a letter to our county executive to give him a heads up on what's going down, so he just doesn't get some correspondence, say sign off on this.
Right. Well,
We should really share that information with him and explain to him why we have to do it.
Consolidations are occurring and have occurred in the
Right.
past, and, you know, we've always facilitated them at the, you know, as long as they're voluntary at the ECC level, so, you know, we encourage the county executive to the state as fast as possible.
yeah, we came up with a general letter to give them, and then the process will be a separate letter, but I'll work
Yeah,
that out with
I
our
sent
legal.
him a separate letter.
Yeah, if
So,
I
yeah.
can make a recommendation, this is Deanna, since that's kind of what we do. A general letter with any backup information would be super helpful. I'm in that position of, that's what I do is, and then I take those then and talk to Dr. Page about those and get any questions that he has, answer them, make sure we're good. And then I work with our legislative assistant to put all the right documentation together to get down to council on Friday by noon for the following Tuesday meetings.
Gotcha. Yeah, I appreciate that. And you're a welcome conduit, so to speak, for this kind of stuff. So, yeah, I'm sure I'll work with, once we move this forward, I'll probably ask for some of your insight directly on the first couple of them if we have them come through, so that you're well aware, because I know, like you said, you're heavily involved in that process. So we will definitely do that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, there's been a motion made. Everybody, any questions on the motion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Chief Brown,
Aye.
Chief Hagan,
Aye.
Chief Carabas,
Aye.
Chief Gregory.
Aye.
Chief Gregory,
You might be muted.
he's muted. I wasn't sure if you could hear me.
Aye.
Thank you. Ms. Baker,
Aye.
Mr. Conlon,
Aye.
The ayes have it. Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, Chief, also under new business, these next three items are all related to approval of policy revisions. These are just, I don't know hopefully you've had a chance to look over them. They are highlighted in yellow, what was changed. If you have any questions, we'll certainly be happy to answer them. I think the first one is concerns our cash radio usage policy. And I don't know, Steve, if you talk really loud from over there, I think everybody can hear. If you want to highlight anything in there.
We made some changes. The policy was originally written, I believe, in what back in '05. And so naturally it's outdated, so we made those changes as related to cash radios. We identified what a user agency is. We put in what our actual inventory and programming of the radios are. We updated the protocol to request for cash radios. And then we added a section for user agency responsibilities, which was not the original policy.
So just so we're clear, all of these policies have gone through the operations committee before getting to you, and they've approved them. It's simply, you guys are the last stop in approval. If there's any questions on this particular policy?
Make a motion that we pass the interim cash radio usage policy as amended and approved by the operations committee.
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor now. Is there anything on the question? Roll call.
Chief Brown,
Aye.
Chief Amon,
Aye.
Chief Carabas,
Aye.
Chief Gregory,
Aye.
Ms. Baker,
Aye.
Mr. Conley,
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we accept and pass the excess use of public safety answering point main dispatch channel policy as revised.
I'll second it.
Okay, another motion's been made and seconded. Is there any questions on the motion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Chief Brown,
Aye.
Chief Amon,
Aye.
Chief Carabas,
Aye.
Chief Gregory,
Aye.
Ms. Baker,
Aye.
Mr. Conley,
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Make a motion to pass the standardization of law enforcement code plug / radios as amended and approved by the operations committee.
I'll second.
Okay, motion been made, seconded by Mr. Conley. Is there any question on the motions? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Chief Brown,
Aye.
Chief Amon,
Aye.
Chief Carabas,
Aye.
Chief Gregory,
Aye.
Ms. Baker,
Aye.
Mr. Conley,
Aye.
All ayes, motion carries. Thank you for that.
That's all I've got under new business.
Is there anything else to come before the commission today? Hearing none, motion to adjourn.
Motion?
Second.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded to adjourn it. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes, the ayes have it. Thank you. Well, let's see, our next meeting will be in December. And everybody have a great Thanksgiving. And we're moving right along. I mean, to tell you, from concept of almost 30 years ago to where we are today, it's unbelievable. It really is. I mean, so many times I heard it'll never fly. I almost believed it myself. But anyway, thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
service, and thank our staff. We've got a great staff that over the years has been put together, and you guys, ladies, do a great job. And it's all for just two things. It's for our first responders and ultimately to the people we serve in St. Louis County. So thank you very much, and have a great Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Steve.
Great.